The year was 2014. The internet was overrun with people talking about this brand new horror game named Five Nights at Freddy's. The game captured the imaginations of millions, leading to a long string of community-driven folklore, theories, and art to be made. Within this hype storm, one central narrative rose to prominence. That being that the restaurant in the game, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, was indeed real at one point in time. Hundreds of thousands of impressionable children rushed to the internet to find proof of the restaurant's existence, further feeding into the mystery of this location's validity. However, a lot of this early era of the Five Nights at Freddy's fandom has been completely forgotten, as the game has continued to see huge success over the past 11 years. Today, we're looking back at when Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was real. This is a story of falsehoods, lost media, and actual damage to local establishments. This is the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza hoax. To truly understand what happened here, I need to take you all the way back to 2014. The internet was a very different place to what we know today. This is back when people used Google Plus to share information. Very different times. When Five Nights at Freddy's first hit the scene after Markiplier's video on it, the internet immediately became attached to the game and its world. It was unlike anything that we'd ever seen before. A truly original concept with some fascinating lore elements sprinkled into the game. These small lore drops led fans into a frenzy, trying to decipher what these events were that were being hinted at. Who did the bite of 87? Who was the killer in the back room? And what the hell was going on in the kitchen? Eventually, people started to wonder whether or not the restaurant portrayed in the games ever existed. Around September of 2014, this question would seemingly be answered in the form of this image right here. What many would now see as an obvious Photoshop became proof of this restaurant's existence. From there, Google Maps listings started to appear around the country, in seemingly random places, all using a similar set of pictures. Alongside these Google Maps locations, a website popped up, seemingly being the business's actual website. It listed prices, opening and closing hours, and an FAQ page. The Freddy's Truther movement was picking up momentum. More and more images allegedly from Freddy Fazbear's Pizza started popping up, leading to a heightened mystery. This was strengthened by a video uploaded by the channel People Against Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. The video was of a man claiming to have been an employee of Freddy's, alleging that the restaurants treated its employees poorly and put them in danger. He claims that he's suing Fazbear Entertainment for these reasons. In the video, he basically just describes the gameplay of FNAF and pulls out an obviously fake pizza box, but at the time, this shit was incredibly believable. Or maybe I was stupid. I don't know. Regardless, more and more evidence was mounting, which led to the children of the internet to sound the alarms and alert the public that Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was real.
So it's real, guys. It's literally real.
Is it real? I mean, it looks real.
This is real. At least it looks really real to me.
The history of all this was a little muddy, since many of the videos have been taken down since. But from what I can find, the first video to blow up was uploaded by Liam Crampton, where he explored the Google Maps listings and the photoshopped images.
Right here, by what I've seen, I'm just gonna put it at the 3-star right there.
Now, here's where the story gets personal. I was 10 years old when this was happening, and I was enchanted by Five Nights at Freddy's. I had a prior fascination with animatronics, learning about the history of creative engineering and CEC, so this game really struck a nerve. The idea that it could be real loomed in the back of my mind. After finding the picture of the restaurant and watching Liam's video, I felt empowered to pick up my 2010 flip camera and let the world know that Freddy's was real. I started by calling the number in the game, being met with a fax machine, a sound that was unfamiliar to me.
Hello?
That's a fax machine.
Oh, a fax? What's a fax machine?
I surfed through the restaurant's supposed website, determining it was fake, and then went through the Google Maps listings. At the time, there were 2 locations, one being in Minnesota, and the other in Hurricane, Utah. Remember that location. I think a big part of this sensation was that kids wanted to believe this was real. So bad. So we consumed anything that we could regarding the establishment. I don't know why. I truly don't. But this video I uploaded is still one of the most popular on my channel, sitting at a baffling 844,000 views. Many more videos started popping up in the later half of 2014 in a very similar style. Little kids pointing a camera at a computer, looking at Google Maps, and rambling about how Freddy Fazbear's Pizza could be a real place. Around this time, another iconic part of the hoax emerged, being this image here, claiming to show a real Foxy the Pirate animatronic, who was one of the more mysterious characters in the game, and also happened to be the fan favorite character. When I saw this image, it immediately got me. Hook, line, and sinker. That was Foxy in real life. So I took to my computer and made a second Freddy's is Real video, using a Hurricane, Utah Google Maps listing, alongside the Foxy image as proof. This too blew up, for some reason, and was met with a lot of vitriolic hate, which led me to backtrack and claim that I was joking the whole time, which was not true. On November 14th, 2014, a now lost video was uploaded by the channel Pocket Miner. The video was focused around a strange establishment in Hurricane, Utah by the name of Chums. Pocket Miner claimed that this location was the spot of the former Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, backing his claims up by saying that he asked locals about the place, and they told him it was the former home of Freddy's, claiming that they remembered the animatronics and the stench. He didn't provide any further proof of this, but ultimately he didn't need proof. Thousands of children took to this video as gospel, and the low population of Hurricane, Utah being only slightly more than 15,000 made the story all the more credible. From then, it was basically established that Freddy's takes place in Hurricane, Utah, which eventually became canon. Kind of. We'll get there when we get there. From here on out, a ton of videos were released, claiming to be walkthroughs of the now abandoned Freddy's. Mysterious and off-putting images were released, showing remnants of animatronics discovered from these former establishments. One infamous image was this one here, claiming to show a withered relic of Freddy's. There was a lot of speculation on who the hell this guy was on Fnaf fan pages, many of them being on Google+, since it was the only social media that a lot of kids had access to. In this video, I think it'll be fun to find the origins of these mysterious images that haunted our dreams 11 years ago. So I'll start with this one. This picture, believe it or not, is not actually a former Freddy Fazbear animatronic, but rather it's an image of the raw animatronic puppet of the character Hoggle from Labyrinth. This image here, claiming to show a Foxy endoskeleton, actually comes from a Russian furry blog, which hosted a page on 2011's Eurofurence, one of the bigger European furry conventions. The fox head was from a panel showing off how one could use animatronic technology in a fursuit to make certain parts of the face move. Moving on to another Foxy-related hoax, this absolutely iconic image of Foxy is a Photoshop of this image here. The character portrayed here is named Rolf de Wolf. He comes from Showbiz Pizza Place, which served as one of the inspirations for Freddy Fazbear's in the first place. All they did was give him an eye patch and a tuft of red hair, and boom, it's Foxy. What's wild is that this image is actually clouded in some mystery, and was part of a lost media hunt. Unbeknownst to me, a video which I made when I was like 10 years old played a crucial part in finding the origin of this image, which is absolutely ridiculous. The search is detailed in a video called Quemtero essa fotos by YouTuber Matthias/Fnaf. Just look at this.
Na descrição ele deixa um link de um canal chamado Raymundo 2112, que olhando os vídeos mais antigos dele, é possível encontrar um vídeo com a mesma foto.
It's so weird to see myself shown in a video like this. If you're interested, I actually recommend watching the Matthias video and change the auto caption to an English translation, since the whole thing's in Portuguese. But it's edited really well, and it's a fascinating search. As for this mysterious image that floated around FNAF truther communities, I cannot find a direct match to it, but it seems like it's an image of a Chewbacca costume listing. It's not too definitive, but they look pretty similar. Another iconic image claiming to show the outside of a now abandoned Freddy's is nothing more than a storage unit behind a McDonald's in Pennsylvania. At some point in the mid to late 2010s, they painted it from gray to orange. It might not seem like much, but in late 2014 and early 2015, this image was seen as concrete proof by many. But no image is more iconic than this. What now looks like a very obvious Photoshop took the internet by storm and convinced way too many children of its validity. What's actually fascinating is that this image is a Photoshop of an actual family pizza place arcade by the name of Papa's Pizza Parlor on Coburg Road, Portland, Oregon. Opening in 1990, this restaurant is part of a chain of Papa's Pizza Parlor restaurants located around the United States, with the chain existing since the 60s. From what I can tell, the restaurant had this blue exterior from the 90s until 2008, replacing the sign and repainting it to a more basic brown and tan color scheme. In 2014, someone found this image of the restaurant, replaced the text, and boom, history was made. What's genuinely wild is that there's very little buzz about the place. From my memory, people started to realize that this image came from Papa's Pizza Parlor around mid to late 2015. You'd think there'd be a bunch of videos of people visiting the place and going, "Oh my god guys, it's the real Freddy Fazbear's Pizza in real life," but oddly enough, I can't find anything of the sort. I want to go there. So bad. And initially, when I thought of making this video back in 2023, I was gonna visit the restaurant and give everyone a tour of this iconic landmark. But, I can't afford a trip to Portland. Not anymore. But I still think it would make a really remarkable video. So if you're interested in a follow-up to this very video where I go to the real-life Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, get this video to 25,000 likes. At that point, it should have made enough ad revenue to cover the flight. If you want this video, vote with your engagement. The restaurant's interior is so perfectly creepy and comforting at the same time. Looking at pictures of the arcade and jungle gym, it has such heavy FNAF vibes. It's genuinely insane. It's so liminal and nostalgic, and I want to be there so bad. It's kind of remarkable that one of these fake Fazbear locations that define the truther movement was actually of a similar nature to the in-game restaurant. This leads me to believe that whoever made the original Photoshop may have been a Portland, Oregon local, and that Freddy's reminded them of Papa's. It doesn't seem like Papa's was negatively impacted by their association with Freddy's, but unfortunately that can't be said for some other pizza joints. You know how I mentioned at the start of this video that some small businesses were hurt by people thinking Freddy's was real? Well, the time has come to dive into that. There are many businesses that happen to sell pizza, that also happen to have Freddy's in the name. Since phony Google Maps listings were so common and such a fun, interactive part of the mystery, oftentimes when searching Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, Google would end up redirecting you to places like Freddy's Pizza since 1961, Freddy's Restaurant and Pizzeria, and many other similarly named restaurants. Reviews and photos were flooded with people talking about animatronics, how bad the place smelled, and how disgusting the pizza is, some noting finding human flesh in their food. Now, this wouldn't be too big of an issue if the reviews were left positive, but the problem is tons of kids thought it would be funny or more realistic to leave the restaurant negative reviews, damaging their otherwise positive scores. Over the years, many of these reviews have been deleted, but to this day you can still find hundreds of FNAF-related reviews. At the time, many of these restaurant reviews were so flooded that you'd see multiple FNAF-related pictures, mainly that being the Papa's Pizza image, and that Rolf the Wolf Foxy image. There were so many that you'd have to go through like 5 FNAF pictures before you saw anything from the actual restaurant. This wasn't the only thing though, as if flooding their pages with negative reviews wasn't enough, a lot of kids would call the restaurants inquiring about their animatronics and asking details on the lore of FNAF. This doesn't necessarily sound like a bad thing, but it got to a point where pizzerias were getting so many calls from kids that actual customers couldn't get through and make their orders. What's actually so awesome is that there's a CBS New York segment dedicated to Freddy's Pizzeria in Long Branch, New Jersey. I'll show you some clips from it, it's incredible.
Can I help you?
Is this Freddy Fazbear's Pizza?
No, this is not Freddy Fazbear.
The calls are from people nationwide, mostly children, who want to know if they're calling Freddy's Fazbear Pizza, a place in an online video game called Five Nights at Freddy's. Countless YouTube videos show gamers calling phone numbers associated with the name Freddy, including this New Jersey pizzeria.
Hello?
The pizzeria gets about 100 prank phone calls a day, like this one.
Real customers, they are not able to get to get through.
Please do not call any phone numbers that you think may be associated with the game. There are no phone numbers associated with the game or marketing. All locations are fictional. For Freddy's, it means a loss of money and aggravation.
As customers, why would they want to call a place that is just a struggle to get to?
What's funny is that back when I was a 10-year-old Freddy's truther, I'd find these restaurants on Google Maps, and I'm happy to say I was smart enough to know that these clearly weren't Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. But since there were so many reviews talking about animatronics and arcade games, my dumb self thought that there was a chance that these reviews were talking from people who'd actually been to Freddy's but clicked on the wrong restaurant and then trying to share the review. Many of the reviews were so realistic and detailed, giving information about the taste and quality of the food, their experience with employees, their opinions on the games and music. It was genuinely convincing. In 2014, but still. As mentioned earlier, over the years, many of these reviews have since been removed, but again, a couple hundred of them still exist. This extends to Yelp as well, but it's not nearly as bad on there, likely because the amount of young children on Yelp is much lower than Google Maps. Something that was deeply essential and inseparable to the early fandom was the Living Tombstone Five Nights at Freddy song. This song was a smash hit, effectively becoming the game's unofficial theme song. I was personally so into this thing, having like 5 variations of it on my little SanDisk MP3 player. Now, let me let you in on a little information. I've got this band called Polybius. It's a cringecore band based on early 2010s internet and fandom culture. You know, all the stuff that people called cringe back in the day. For this video, Polybius came together and we made a cover of Five Nights at Freddy's. Enjoy.
For many years we've been on the run. We're forced to be still and play the same song. Keep on since that billion imposters took our life away. Now we're stuck here to decay. Please let's get it done.
Pretty cool, huh? If you enjoyed that, you're in luck. Polybius is everywhere. If you want to listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, anywhere, you can. In the description will be our YouTube channel where you'll be able to find this music video and others, alongside our Instagram, which is where we're the most active. With that, I hope you enjoyed, and now on with the rest of the video. Thank you very much. Now, throughout all of this, there was one piece of evidence that was missing. With the exception of some of the images and found footage that we looked at earlier, we really didn't have any footage of functional animatronics in real life. We did, however, have Five Nights at Freddy's Hidden Lore. This was a series of videos displaying an alleged show tape from the restaurant. To my knowledge, being the first time that anyone had portrayed what you might have heard when you were in the restaurant, which, to my young self, was deeply fascinating. The videos are an obvious work of fiction, with an almost overwhelming amount of spooky glitching, but that didn't stop a bunch of impressionable kids from watching the video and thinking it was audio recorded from the actual restaurant. It's wild to think about now, but in the early days of the fandom, people were absolutely starved for information and external media, so the smallest things would suffice and be obsessed over. These videos would fill that void for many. Small side tangent, but this was the same with the merchandise. In 2015, Sanshi acquired the licensing rights to them and produced plushies based on those seen in the second game, alongside a Chica mask and some posters. These were really cool, but it wasn't enough for a fan base that was starving for merchandise. This resulted in a fascinating production of knockoff figures coming from Mexico, which were absolutely interesting. These figures were hand-painted, leading to them to all look unique. For a time, they were the only way you could get any of these characters in figure form, which led to a ton of kids to ask for them for Christmas and birthdays and such. These oddities were covered by Mr. Soup, a YouTuber who only few will remember. Eventually, I ended up getting some of these figures as a gift, and despite their low quality, I adored them and played with them a lot. Some of these figures ended up being cooler and more creative than the official figures released by Funko in 2016. I unfortunately no longer have my old Fnaf figures, but I will remember them forever, as they were like nothing I owned before. They still sell figures like this to this day, mostly on eBay, but I can't find those original 2015 figures. Anyway, it's not really related, but I just wanted to bring that up since no one really talks about it. Many of the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza in real life walkthrough videos just consisted of kids sticking their cameras in the window of either abandoned buildings or just closed establishments, claiming that this was indeed the real Freddy Fazbear's Pizza restaurant. However, there was one video series that was a bit more convincing than the rest. This was James Butler's Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Investigation series. In it, two British guys travel to what appears to be an abandoned Mexican restaurant and explore the inside, and there were a lot of videos on this. As the series went on, the videos got creepier and creepier, with spooky sound effects and camera glitches being added in post. The first few videos were basically just spooky urban exploration videos with some slight paranormal evidence, but eventually, shit got real when physical evidence was found. They find a blanket of the bear from open season, claiming it to be Foxy.
Heck, is that Foxy?
Is it blanket? What is that?
That's like, looks like some kind of old drawing of Foxy or something.
And then they find a soda can from the year 1987. Eventually, they ended up finding this genuinely creepy figure. This animatronic, who appeared to be made of insulation and scrap metal, was genuinely so eerie and unique. I have this weird Mandela effect memory of them taking this animatronic back to their house and getting it to work again, but I must have just dreamt that or something, since I can't find anything of the sort. Something that was funny about James Butler's videos was that they claimed that everything that they talked about was 100% real, and that Scott Cawthon was lying about the place being fake. This explanation fooled so many children back in the day, and the guy never gave up the bit. I honestly can't really remember if these videos fooled me back in the day, but I certainly did think they were cool. You know how I mentioned that all we had was just audio recordings of the animatronics with no actual proof or footage of them? Well, that wasn't the case for long. On March 4th, 2015, YouTuber Dr. CreepyPasta uploaded a video titled Real Freddy Fazbear. This video displayed a working, talking Freddy Fazbear animatronic that looked absolutely fantastic. While the description made it pretty clear that this animatronic was made by the OP, it didn't stop thousands of kids from seeing this footage and believing it to be a real Freddy Fazbear animatronic from the restaurant. And it didn't end there. Not even close. After this video blew up, Dr. CreepyPasta started a GoFundMe to get the money to build the rest of the band. Eventually, the necessary funds were raised, and production started on the rest of the band. On August 16th, he uploaded an incredible video walking through his house and entering the room where the entire animatronic band stood dormant. The detail was insane. Everything down to Foxy's curtain looked incredible. He eventually rushed down the stairs, only to be met with Springtrap. Following this video, he uploaded footage of each individual character performing, some of the show tapes actually coming from the aforementioned Hidden Lore videos. Finally, Freddy Fazbear and the gang were real. They existed in physical form. alongside Springtrap. These animatronics had such a distinct look to them. They weren't identical to the game, but had their own distinct charm. Dr. CreepyPasta uploaded for a little longer after this, but after making a review of a Freddy Fazbear Funko Pop, stopped uploading entirely. In February of 2025, he uploaded a video titled I Always Come Back, where he teased a return to uploading animatronic-related videos. This was a surprise to many, as they thought he'd sold off the animatronics years ago, based on a Facebook Marketplace listing. On the 20th of February, Dr. CreepyPasta uploaded a return video, answering the questions many had asked throughout the years. Contrary to what many believed, Dr. CreepyPasta didn't build these animatronics. Rather, his father's friend worked for a business called Scare Factory, a business that creates Halloween animatronics for haunted houses and rides and stuff like that. Dr. CreepyPasta expressed wanting a Toy Bonnie figure from Fnaf 2. His dad suggested that he just get a full animatronic. Eventually, his father surprised him with the iconic Freddy Fazbear animatronic that we all know and love. With the funds that were raised, Scare Factory built the rest of them, and the rest is history. He was only a teenager at the time, and stopped uploading as he was busy with college. The animatronics were listed online, since they didn't really do much but sit in storage, but luckily, no one bought them, and they remain with Dr. CreepyPasta to this day. Since this video, he's returned to YouTube, uploading new videos with the animatronics. They show some imperfections due to their age, but are still in great working order. If you check out his channel, you'll find videos of the characters singing modern songs like Lava Chicken from that terrible Minecraft movie. What's also really cool is a fan-made mod of FNAF has been made that replaces all the animatronics with those of Dr. CreepyPasta's. Stuff like this is genuinely so cool and so fascinating. And I adore how long people's love for these real animatronics has lasted. Since Dr. CreepyPasta's animatronics have always fascinated me for so long, I decided I might as well just reach out to him and have an interview for this video. And lucky enough, he said yes. And you'll be seeing that after these messages.
And some exclusive game hands-on screamer.
Have you ever wanted to bring Captain Orion home with you? Well, now you can! Introducing the Raymundo 2112 Captain Orion plushie. From New York and beyond, he's soft, huggable, and made of premium materials in an ethical factory. He has fully articulated arms and will make your life better. Not a flying toy. Order now! Click the link in the description. All plushies on sale for the holidays. Only $29.99 plus shipping and handling. That's $29.99 plus shipping and handling.
Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, we're here with the one and only Dr. CreepyPasta in the flesh. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
No, of course. I've got questions. So you were surprised by it, right? Like you didn't know you were gonna get a life-size Freddy Fazbear.
Yeah, no, I had no idea.
That's crazy.
It's funny. It was actually Christmas Eve. You know, kind of talked about it here and there, but towards December and Christmas time, I kept on asking, well, what's going on with that? And he said, well, they're looking to see if they can get the materials. It doesn't seem like they can get them, or, you know, some lame excuse like that I had bought at the time. We usually give gifts to each other on Christmas Eve. So it was Christmas Eve, and we all given gifts to each other, and so it was like over, and the night was ramping up. And then he goes, oh, I've got one more thing. And then he wheels in.
No way.
Get to the living room.
That's amazing.
Like, holy crap, dude. I was so shocked.
From what I can tell, at least, yours was the first ever, like, functioning Freddy animatronic ever.
Yeah, I think that's right.
That's incredible. Were you ever like a Freddy's truther, or did you never fall for that?
No, I don't think I ever actually believed like it was real. I think I was a little weirded out by there were like phone numbers you could call or something, and you know, stuff like that. I was like, oh, that's a little strange. No, I almost kind of thought about it as a kid, like, what if my Freddy came to life kind of thing.
You look at a lot of the YouTube comments that people would leave back in the day, and they're like, I couldn't sleep if this was in my house, right? Would it ever freak you out? Would you ever, like, get scared of your animatronics when you were younger?
No, I was never really scared of them. I've kind of grown up around, like, horror stuff.
Right.
That's one of the reasons my dad was buying these animatronics in the first place. We would have our own like haunted house, which was really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Started in our backyard, and then we actually got into a mall at one point, sold tickets.
Really?
It was really cool. So
damn.
Yeah, so I've kind of been around like horror attractions and stuff like that all my life. That stuff never really scared me. I always just found it really cool, and I kind of find that stuff cool to this day. I still love watching horror movies and playing games that are, you know, super spooky and try to get scared by them.
Would you program the bots as well, or were they pre-programmed when they came with the different like hidden lore sounds and the songs and all that stuff?
Yeah, so they each came with one program initially, which is like whenever I recorded a video and said it was the real life Freddy or real life Bonnie, whatever. Yep. Those are the original programmings that they had done for me.
Gotcha.
I would give them the audio to use, and then they would just make up their own movements to go with it. After that, though, all the other videos that I made have been me programming them. Back in the day, I would have to download the audio of whatever I wanted it to be and put it like on an SD card, put that into Freddy, and then from there you can like record each individual movement, almost kind of like stop motion. You do one movement at a time and sync it with the audio. But now I don't really do that as much, partly because I kind of forgot how I did that because it's been so long. Back then I recorded the video and the audio on my camera, just recording, so you just hear all the background noise. Now it's like I don't have the audio when I record the animatronics. I just record them and I overlay the audio on top. So
that
now
makes
I don't
sense.
gotta worry about syncing the audio directly to their motherboard or whatever.
I've personally been really into animatronics since I was a kid, pre-Five Nights at Freddy's, long before. I've just always loved them. And the sounds that a pneumatic animatronic makes are the best ASMR ever. So is there anything to look forward to going forward for Dr. CreepyPasta?
Great question. Definitely is. I just finished up my contribution to Fnaf lore, which I know everyone has kind of done that already. I've always been confused about what's going on, so I tried to make a short video on explaining the story of what's going on, and at least in Scott's games from 1 to Ultimate Custom Night. After that video, I want to try and still make animatronic videos and stuff, but I might divert from making solely Five Nights at Freddy's stuff, maybe go into more kind of these general horror stuff and make videos talking about, I don't know, local legends or true scary stories, exploring haunted locations, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I know, just something more broad, that's more horror related, because I like a lot of other things now that it's not just Five Nights at Freddy's focus. So I'm planning on doing a lot of that.
And it's in the name. I mean, you're not stuck with FNAF. You're Dr. CreepyPasta. You're good. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing this story.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. All right, go over. Dr. CreepyPasta, subscribe. Now, there's one more piece of media lauded by Freddy's truthers back in the day, and that was the Five Nights at Freddy's fan films created by Iron Horse Cinema. On March 30th, 2015, we were exposed to one of, if not the first proper interpretations of a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza commercial. We meet this friendly bald man named Freddy Fazbear. Sure. He introduces us to the restaurant, and we see a slideshow of attractions, eventually leading to footage of the animatronic band, and they look shiny. We see the outside of the restaurant, clearly being that of a Chuck E. Cheese, and then it ends. Until it doesn't. The tape reverses, showing Freddy's outtakes and his eventual freakout at the staff, firing everybody involved, implying that he might not be so nice after all. Their next FNAF video is somewhat infamous with those who saw it back in the day, as it pretty much just opens with a sex scene. Rather than being an in-universe piece of media, this video was a short film about a night guard trying to survive his shift at Freddy's. The Freddy's commercial is featured in this short film, and there are some pretty cool set pieces and props, but we won't be going further into this one, as it doesn't really try to be anything but a short film, and wasn't ever used as proof for FNAF truthers. I do, however, have a story about this video. In 2015, I was absolutely obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's, if you couldn't tell. For my annual Halloween party, I decided that I wanted to make it a FNAF-themed party. And so I ended up making and buying a bunch of cool stuff to decorate the house with. Unfortunately, FNAF wasn't really the cultural juggernaut that it is today, so no one really cared, and it made me sad. In an attempt to save the theming, I wanted to find some sort of scary FNAF movie to watch with everybody, so I ended up playing this very Iron Horse short film. Immediately, everyone watching, including myself, freaked out and rushed to turn the film off. We didn't even try to find anything after. That was it. My theming was ahead of its time. Anyway, the next Iron Horse FNAF video tripled the immersion and convinced hundreds of thousands. It took the form of a news segment of the burning Fazbear's fright. The acting and visuals in this video are super convincing, and the seriousness and the weight that it's portrayed with is genuinely impressive. The only spooky FNAF thing in this video is a mention of a strange noise coming from the wreckage. The direct follow-up to this video, titled Fnaf Purple Guy Revealed, is where the series peaked when it came to the horror of it. It takes the form of a videotape being recorded by Purple Guy, before the name William Afton even existed. The tape will cut to footage of the Fazbear fright fire, giving us a closer look into what happened inside. But the real horror comes from the performance. Purple Guy is so creepy and so gross, and knowing what we do now, his fanatical love of pizza is that much more disturbing. The video cuts to footage inside Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which was shot in a 2000s Chuck E. Cheese. Purple Guy explains how he lured some kids away, and that it's his birthday, and he wants to have some fun. Footage flashes of the news report, where we see Springtrap walking away from the fire like Bigfoot. We're then shown two children that he abducted, and it's genuinely really unnerving and disturbing.
It's my birthday today, so I want to have a pizza party. You want to join me? Really low-key party?
The video ends with Purple Guy shoving the camera in the kids' faces while laughing maniacally. This video disturbed me very, very deeply when I first watched it as a kid. for like a week at least. I remember seeing it and then going to a friend's mom's birthday party at night, which pizza was present in, leading me to effectively get flashbacks to the video all night. Truly some disturbing shit to see as a kid. Not unlike the rest of the videos discussed, a bunch of kids thought this was effectively found footage of a snuff video, and the comments reflected this, of course. In 2018, they basically completed the story with Purple Guy, the complete fan film. This video mainly consists of a police interrogation, officially establishing him as William Afton, and further fleshes out the story of the missing kids. It's really good, and it's cool that they finished the story. But after the initial Purple Guy video, their FNAF output shifted from being presented as real to more short films like their initial Sexy Sex one. When it comes to Freddy's canon location, surprisingly enough, it actually takes place in Hurricane, Utah. Initially, this was established in the books, which hold a separate canonicity to the games. For a while, this wasn't fully considered the game's location, since it wasn't established in any of the actual games, but in FNAF 6, this changed. If you get a lawsuit in Pizzeria Simulator, you'll see at the top of the document that this takes place in the District Court of Utah, Washington County to be specific, which is where Hurricane's located. I honestly think there's no other reason than the myths that the game takes place there, which is genuinely, like, so remarkable. This weird Google Maps listing and subsequent YouTube videos led to the games and books to actually adapt it as canon. I find this so awesome, having been there since its very inception, and being one of the people who spread this rumor as fact. In 2017, I was on a big family trip. On this trip, our bus drove through and stopped in Hurricane. At this point, I was well aware that Freddy's wasn't real, but a small part of me still held out a tiny bit of hope and whimsy that maybe, against all odds, I'd find an abandoned former Freddy's building. Obviously, I didn't, but still, it was fun. When the first few trailers for the FNAF movie released, people were curious where the film took place. Some theorized that it could be in Hurricane, but eventually the film confirmed its location, being Granite Falls, Minnesota, despite the movie being filmed in New Orleans. If you ever have the chance to stop by Hurricane, Utah, there's really nothing to see there. But that adds to the vibe. It is kind of the perfect location for a place like Freddy's, and that Chums building is still open to this day. Also, I've been saying it wrong this whole time. It's pronounced Hurricane. I just thought I should mention that. Despite it hardly ever being discussed, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was actually brought to life in 2016 as a walkthrough haunted house attraction. The house was hosted at the iconic Circus Hotel in Las Vegas. In it, there's this giant indoor theme park dome filled with arcade games, rides, shops, and immersive theater experiences, reminding me of the Pizzaplex, almost. In 2003, Circus shake things up and opened a seasonal haunted house experience called the Fright Dome, completely transforming the park into a state-of-the-art Halloween attraction. On September 7th, 2016, the haunt was announced, leading to hype throughout the entire fandom. For the first time ever, we would see an official rendition of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Not only that, but we'd likely see actual working animatronics. It almost felt too good to be true. The haunt had a guide, which is commonplace for a lot of higher budget haunts. The guide played the role of the night guard, playing off the phone guide calls from the first 3 games. The haunt was based off the original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location and loosely followed the layout of the rooms. Since it was a haunted house, of course they had to downsize and shrink a lot of it, but it still carried the same vibe pretty decently. However, the haunt was severely lacking in the scare department. Here's the thing. Little known fact, but scare acting is actually a side hustle of mine. I've worked at 2 different haunted houses over the years, and I have a real appreciation and understanding of the art form. That being said, this haunt was kinda lacking in the sauce. They made Freddy Fazbear's Pizza in real life. They made the suits of the animatronics, but instead of making them actually move as you'd expect, they just kinda hunched over on stage. Their design resembling that one Chuck E. Cheese that got rebranded, or a Times Square mascot character that pressures you into giving them tips. Footage of this location is extremely lacking, so I can't find footage of live actors in the suits, but behind the scenes photos imply that they would possibly leave the stage and walk around. There was one moving animatronic though, that being the scratched Chica in the back room which twitched and convulsed, but it didn't exactly live up to the hope that many of us had for a real-life Freddy's. Regardless, the haunt was presented in a really cool way, expanding upon the many parts of the building that we didn't see in the game, like a ball pit, arcade, and prize corner, also including the brick wall that we see Freddy in at the start of the game's trailer, which to my knowledge never appears again. Something kinda cool about the haunt is the fact that it basically tries to convey the gameplay of FNAF through the experience. When you enter the different rooms, you'd be greeted by the security monitor screen from the game, highlighting the room that you were in, while also showing what time it was. As you walk through the different rooms, the clock would tick down to 6. Like most haunted houses, recording and phone use was strictly prohibited, so very little footage of the haunt in operation actually exists. For the longest time, the only clear footage that we had was this video here, which doesn't actually show show the haunt in operation. Rather, it was a behind-the-scenes video, showing the haunt in a rather incomplete way. This lack of video footage and general buzz from the community has led the haunt to become kind of forgotten. Apparently, at the end of the haunt, an actor dressed as the puppet/marionette would pop up and scare people, but footage of this does not exist. What's cool is that the animatronic costume still exists, and there's a couple pictures of them circulating around, so luckily they weren't destroyed or just left to rot. When asked if it would be coming back, Scott Cawthon explained that due to some licensing issues, it wouldn't be returning in 2017. But this wasn't the last time that Freddy's would be turned into a haunted attraction. In 2016, the fandom was shocked by the first official Foxy animatronic being displayed at the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions. Turns out, this Foxy was part of a dark ride concept pitched by Sally Corporation. In the ride, you and up to 5 others would take the role of security guards, making your way through the shift at Freddy's. Equipped with flashlights, you fend off against the animatronics that roam the halls, until eventually escaping and finishing your work night. The pitch of this ride sounds so cool. It would have effectively been a playable game similar to something like Buzz Lightyear Astro Blaster. The flashlights would have taken the role of light guns, scaring the bots away. The ride buggies would be equipped with buttons that would close doors, resembling the gameplay of the first Five Nights at Freddy's. Like in the game, the riders would have to manage their resources, as closing the doors and using their flashlights would use up power. This was a ride that you could effectively lose. There were multiple endings. The concept art just looks phenomenal. The pitch is so cool, and honestly, I much prefer the way the restaurant was portrayed here in this dark ride pitch over what ended up being used in the film. Unfortunately, this ride was never created, and given the fact that most new marketing material is based around the movies, it's unlikely that this ride will ever see the light of day. Going back to the Foxy animatronic, its actual function was very simple, as it was likely just made to drum up interest and not actually portray the quality of the animatronics on the ride. It was very clearly based on the Funko Foxy figure. The curtains had a strobe light and compressed air, and it seems like possibly also a mechanism that would move the curtain and close it. It's kinda hard to tell though. In the years since, many incredible and realistic depictions of these characters have been uploaded to YouTube, with the Fnaf VHS trend of the early 2020s being the catalyst for many of these. There are some incredible depictions of commercials from the restaurant, which fulfills exactly the kind of stuff that I dreamed of seeing back in the day. It's really, really cool. If you're a fan of the franchise, you're probably already familiar with this, but still, check it out. There's also this recently released mockumentary by the name of Fazbear's Folly. It's a full hour-long video that takes you through the first-hand events of the Fnaf story, being told by people who worked with William Afton, police, and former Freddy's employees. They use a lot of footage from different fan-made animations, bringing the full story together. It's very fun, very kitschy, and a highly recommended watch if you love FNAF, especially if you're interested with it being portrayed in a realistic fashion. The saga of the FNAF movie is a long and drawn-out story of development hell, horrible drafts, and an eventual success story. If you're anything like me, you grew up in this fandom, and you likely remember the early days of the film's development, and all the YouTube coverage around it. The first director of the film was Gil Keenan, of Monster House fame. After this was announced, Gil started posting behind-the-scenes photos of some animatronics, which was incredibly exciting. No one was really sure who these characters were supposed to represent, but that didn't matter. I know, speaking from personal experience, that these images captured my imagination, and I couldn't wait to see the restaurant in operation, with the characters performing songs. I was so excited to see actual characterization of these bots, their voices, personalities, songs, show tapes, all of it. And this is part of why I didn't love the film that actually came out. Anyway, the images that Gil shared didn't really resemble any characters that we were familiar with, aside from this pair of eyes. It was soon discovered, to the disappointment of many, that these photos did not come from the future FNAF movie, but rather they came from Jim Henson's Creature Shop, which Gil was touring for inspiration. As far as we know, there weren't any animatronics made for any of the early drafts of the film, as they probably never made it far enough into development. This brings me to the actual Five Nights at Freddy's movie. After many years of hype and speculation, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie finally released in 2023. The film portrayed the original 5 animatronics almost perfectly. Their designs, the way they moved, and their size was exactly what the majority of fans were wanting. Unfortunately, we never really saw the restaurant in operation. We didn't see the animatronics perform as intended, but still, they were done incredibly. And it ended up being kind of a full circle moment, as Jim Henson's Creature Shop is responsible for the band that we see. The film operates in its own little canon, taking bits and pieces of the game's story, while doing its own thing in many aspects. This is reflected in the design of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, or Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place? I don't know. The restaurant looks pretty different from the game, resembling something more like Willy's Wonderland. I say this all because in 2025, Freddy and the gang returned to the scare acting business, this time at Universal Studios' Halloween Horror Nights. The restaurant and the band were fully brought to life, with the design being based on the film. The animatronics look fantastic. The way they move feels so faithful to how they'd actually move in real life. The haunt itself is so highly detailed, almost perfectly recreating the set from the film. I do have some gripes with the set pieces that they decided to use, with half of the haunt not even taking place in the actual pizzeria, but rather in the restaurant's back rooms and storage rooms, but it's still really, really cool. At the end of the day, we ended up seeing an actual operational Freddy Fazbear's Pizza attraction at Universal. While not being an actual recreation of the restaurant, Universal took their Italian restaurant Louis and slightly rethemed it to Five Nights at Freddy's. The restaurant offered fun and unique menu items like a Mike Eggs Benedict sandwich and an edible Chica's cupcake, which is so freaking cute. From what I've seen online, the food wasn't very good, but the experience was incredibly charming, and being able to say that you've technically eaten at a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is pretty damn cool. This, however, was not the only time that they made a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza to promote the film. In the months leading up to the release of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, a small Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was erected in Los Angeles County. Unfortunately, this was not a functional restaurant, but rather it was effectively a really cool little billboard. The restaurant had a beautiful Freddy Fazbear's Pizza sign, alongside some art on the windows, with shadows of the beloved animatronics peering through. Text on the windows encouraged passerbys to book their next party at Freddy's and had little catchphrases like, "Where fantasy and fun comes to life," and "Are you ready for Freddy?" The facade only lasted a few months, but acted as a fantastic advertisement. Many were disappointed by the fact that this wasn't an actual restaurant, but there's actually a pretty interesting reason as to why there hasn't been a real Freddy's restaurant, and we'll get to that shortly. One of, if not the most obscure piece of Fnaf media as of recent years was a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza haunted attraction in Saudi Arabia. This attraction was effectively a spiritual successor to the Fright Dome attraction, taking you through the Fnaf 1 pizzeria with actual scare actors wearing costumes of the characters. There's not a huge amount of footage of this haunt since you weren't allowed to record, but there's enough to get a general idea of what this attraction was like. The animatronic suits were not the best, with heavy variety and quality, but this kinda just adds to the charm. It seemed like there was a lot more creative freedom in this haunt, and honestly, I really love what they did with the place. It fully expanded the original pizzeria, making what I believe to be the coolest IRL interpretation of this place. Lots of it doesn't really make sense or add up to the timeline, but there are so many little details that just capture my imagination and fit into what I've always wanted to see in a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Foxy's Pirate Cove is actually themed to look like a pirate cove. It takes place in a separate room to the main stage, which is what I always imagined Pirate's Cove to be, similar to attractions like the King at Chuck E. Cheese Pizza Time Theater. A separate room from the main stage that catered to displaying one specific character. Something they did that was also really cool and unconventional for haunts is the fact that you were handed a flashlight at the start of the haunt to help you make your way through the restaurant, which, like, that's so cool. Despite how inconsistent the bots looked and the fact that you'd be in a room with like 3 Freddys, there were actual functional animatronics built for this attraction, leading to what I believe to be the most interesting and unique interpretation of this beloved franchise. But here's the thing. For many years, fans have had a burning question on our minds. Why isn't there an actual Chuck E. Cheese style Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location? This seemed like it would be the next logical step when the game was getting heavily marketed. A Freddy's restaurant would be such an easy slam dunk. But years passed, and no mention or rumor of a future pizza place arose, so many just accepted the fact that this probably was never going to happen. That was until 2020 came and Chuck E. Cheese filed for bankruptcy. Many in the community started discussing the immense potential that a Freddy's pizza place could have, since they could literally just buy old Chuck E. Cheese restaurants, retheme them, buy some old arcade games, and create the band. The buildings already had the layout to be a pizza place animatronic arcade, there was already a kitchen. It would work perfectly. This hype was also bolstered by a string of Photoshop news articles which spoke about children going missing in various CEC locations, alongside reports of night guards seeing strange movements in the animatronic characters. Needless to say, these stories were completely bogus, but they sparked the imaginations of people even further. In 2016, Scott had already established that he had no plans to make a Freddy's restaurant, but after so much time had passed and so much money was made, people thought he may have changed his mind. Now, here's the thing. I can't actually find the source of this claim, but I've heard it repeated throughout the years, so take it with a grain of salt. But from my memory, Scott made a more recent statement explaining that part of why there would never be a real Freddy's restaurant is because he didn't want some sick individual to take it upon themselves to recreate the events of the game. Which, if this quote is true, makes total sense to me. I think it's an unfortunate truth that someone very well might do unspoken, awful things in this restaurant, so its creation is inherently a bit of a risk. Scott Cawthon is a deeply religious man, so it's likely that these beliefs around the risk of the restaurant are set in stone, which is something that I genuinely respect. That said, I'm actually genuinely surprised there hasn't been this kind of themed restaurant before. It would be so easy to make a knockoff Freddy Fazbear's Pizza style attraction that was just a Chuck E. Cheese by day, and then at night it would be adults only and it would get all creepy and serve drinks and all that stuff. It's an easy slam dunk, but to my knowledge it hasn't been done yet. Since Freddy Fazbear's Pizza doesn't exist, and I've always wanted to go so bad, I decided to do the second best thing. Maybe third best, because going to Papa's Pizza Parlor would probably be second best. So, I live in New York, not too far from this pizza place here. Freddy's since 1961, the restaurant that got some of the worst attention from little kids. I'm a pizza connoisseur to an obnoxious extent, so my opinion matters. Let's do this thing. We're here at Freddy's Pizza since 1961, the one and only. Or as a little after that, we believe, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the restaurant. Now, I think the reviews are kind of off, because if you look inside here, I don't see a single animatronic. It smelled fine. No arcade games. But, oh, yeah, okay. That's a nice looking pie. This was $24, which I think is totally fair.
Yeah, get right in there.
But this, oh my goodness. Look at that. It's also cold and rainy out today, so it's an even better, like, atmosphere. Alright, but here we go. Freddy's Pizza, Purple Guy approved. If I were to rate it, I would probably say this is a 7.7 pizza, honestly. This is Five Nights at Freddy's history for this very niche little subsection of the fandom that remembers any of this.
Pizza!
So in a very strange move, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie has decided to collaborate with Popeyes, of all places. We're gonna try it out. So, am I ready for Freddy? That's the question. We got the Let's Eat Popeyes box. Freddy Fazbear on the cup. So they give you this little cupcake too, which is supposed to be Chica's cupcake. I can't say it really looks like Chica's cupcake. It looks a little gross. So it's chicken tenders with a bunch of garlic seasoning and these little cheese bites. I'll try a little cheese bite. I think they're trying to go for a pizza thing. Garlic and cheese and chicken. What? That's pretty good. Tastes like a cheese stick. The chicken. Yay! Chica's cupcake. Chica's cupcake. You guys ready for this? I haven't eaten Play-Doh since I was a little kid, but it's back on the menu. It's kind of good actually. It's like a pound cake, honestly, with like that strawberry shortcake ice cream that's really good, like that kind of flavor. It pairs well. Okay. Now this isn't the first time that real life food has been involved with Freddy's. In 2023, when the movie first came out, I don't know exactly what it is, I didn't research it, this is just from my memory, but when they did the Comic-Con premiere, they gave out hundreds of these Freddy Fazbear's pizza boxes, and they were on the smaller side. A few weeks after that, all these pizza places throughout the city started giving out Freddy Fazbear's pizza boxes, which was super cool, and was something that I would have freaked out to see as a little kid. My guess is that whatever like pizza box manufacturer there is, just start producing them and sending them out to companies as like a promotion thing. But it was cool. And so there was, for a few months, Freddy Fazbear's pizza boxes littered New York City, and probably other cities too, but I'm very narrow-minded. I only have like, I'm a New York City brain. That was good stuff. To the outro. So that wraps it up for what is one of the strangest examples of a fandom manifesting their delusions into reality. And honestly, it's a magical story. This video was genuinely so fun to make. It was such a blast to go back into my childhood and experience these things all over again that I'd almost forgotten about. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know, as I would love to make more like it. And hey, 25,000 likes, and I'm going to Papa's Pizza Parlor. I'm just saying. If you enjoyed those songs by Polybius, which I'm sure you did, they were really cool, we put a whole ton of work into them, check them out on streaming. Now, if you're watching this within the first week of release, which hopefully you are, hopefully this video is doing good, you're probably only be able to find the songs on Bandcamp, but within like a week, they'll be on Spotify, Apple Music, everywhere. But currently, if you want to watch the music videos independently, they're on the YouTube channel, which is linked in the description. This has been quite the journey to make. From going back into this odd fandom's history, to experiencing an actual culinary experience tied to Freddy Fazbear, I'm glad to have taken you on this journey, and I'm glad that you've been here with me. On the day that this releases, the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie will have came out, and I hope it's good. I really do. It's something I've been looking forward to, and it looks great so far. So if you're watching this when it first came out, I'm probably sitting in the theater enjoying it right now. I honestly feel like something like this wouldn't really happen in today's day and age. The online landscape is so different than it was in the early 2010s, and the fact that kids can be fooled by just AI imagery and all these different things makes these simple photoshops and kid lore, effectively, these rumors, kind of impossible. I don't know if we'll ever have something like Five Nights at Freddy's ever again. It was truly something so beautiful and so special, and it's really been a blast to look back and just really realize how prolific this fandom truly is. Check out Dr. CreepyPasta if you want to go see his animatronics, it's so sick. What fooled you back in the day? What was the most interactive part of the fandom that you remember? Were there any little urban legends that you fell for? It's truly something that everyone has a different experience of. But yeah, that's been it. Thank you all for watching. I've been Raymundo 2112, you've been a great audience, and I hope to see you in the next one.